Hey, good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. It's hot. So, a couple things I keep referring back to because I guess it made an impression on me. Southern Prepper One did a video one time, not that long ago, where he said something along the lines of, "How come so many preppers are so messy?" Right? And he recommended that people pick up their place. And that touched me because my place is kind of messy. And so I have resolved to get it picked up and beautiful looking and orderly. And to that end, I've learned some things and I've come across some issues, some challenges. But one thing is, and let me see if I can you see this brush pile right there? When I used to make brush piles, you cut down a tree and the tree falls down, you cut off the limbs and all the stuff that's too small to make firewood out of. What do you do with it, right? You can pile it up and burn it. I've never done that because we have all these woods, so I just pile it up to get it out of the way, so you're not tripping over it while you're sawing up the logs. And here, I can just pick up the whole tripod. See these logs? Can you see all the firewood sized pieces that I get to haul out of these woods? And so you just make your brush pile to get that stuff out of the way. But this brush pile, I was taught a new technique. Come over here. Can you see that? I can't even tell if you can see it. The sun's in my eye. Yeah, you can see that. That brush pile right there. All the butts are facing one way. It's in a long, low, rectangular pile, if you will, almost like a fence or a wall. That's as high as the brother who was here helping me makes his piles. And then he just puts like these little square piles. I actually think they're attractive, compared to the way I would just jumble it all up and it would end up in some kind of circle of just nasty brush that you can't wade into. The other thing I immediately noticed about this, because he asked me if I wanted to burn it and I said no, is that by next winter, since all the butts are facing this way and all the skinny pieces are all lined up, one will be able to go by on the other side of that brush pile and snap off the twigs for kindling, because that's how we make our wood stoves fire up. We just use kindling like that. Why make kindling when the Most High, the creator of the universe, makes kindling for you? I don't need to make, split little pieces of wood into kindling. So that kind of neatness and tidiness. Now, we live on a construction site, and we will probably live on a construction site for a while yet. It's not like my number one thing every day is just working on the house. One, we kind of ran out of money finishing the inside of it. The outside is weather tight, except for I have a fascia board on this backside that I need to get up and stain or put aluminum over, but I'm probably just going to stain it. But other than that, it's weather tight. And so that's cool, right? Nothing bad is going to happen to it. But the outside and the inside are not done. I mean, the outside grounds and stuff like that, porches and such like that. I want to add to it, decks. And then I have construction materials lying about. And I'll give you an example. Here, I'll show you the back of the house. You can see that. See that siding? That's a hardy board siding. It's like concrete siding. And it's great. It won't burn. You never have to replace it, that kind of thing, which is cool, which is what appeals to me. But one of the things, now the camera's not right. Sorry. Come on, I'm still drinking coffee. Give me a break. Let's see if I can bend this up. There we go. One of the things about it is it's kind of fragile before it's hung on the building, right? And so I estimated how much I'd need. I bought it, I had it delivered, and it's laying on purlins, pieces of wood on the ground, and then it's all laid flat on top of that, and then it's tarped over and covered with tarps. And it's still laying there, the stuff I didn't use. Why? Because I've added 2 additions onto the house already as we come to live into it, and the next addition I'm going to add is a tool room workshop. which is going to be attached to the house. And of course I'm going to side it just like the rest of the house, and I'm going to paint it just like the rest of the house so it looks nice. And so what, should I move the planking, from where it is in kind of the front of the house over to the side of the house, and then, risk breaking it and getting it? No, it's going to stay where it is. And so, but it's just an eyesore for me. I put a green or a brown, I'm colorblind, I put a green or a brown tarp over it about a year ago to kind of make it blend in a little bit. And then those tarps, man, they don't last very long. The cheap tarps you buy at hardware stores. And it's just all shredded now. And so I should probably remove that tarp. And then do I want to spend $20 to remove the eyesore and ruin another tarp in a year? I don't know. Things I deal with, things I think about when I'm drinking my coffee. Got to clean some stuff up today. But like I said, I'm not working on the house every day. I don't choose to have the time to just focus on the house and just focus on cleanup. Example, coming up here in just a few days, we have the End Times Defensive Patrolling course. And so there are things I have to do to get ready for that. I have to personally get ready, got to get my gear sorted out, how I want it. I have to get the scenarios set up for the students, make sure their campsite's good, all that, yada, yada, yada. And so that's work that has to be done. Obviously, I can't be working on the house while I'm doing that. Excuse me, I need this. I desire it strongly. And so what I've decided to do, and I started it a couple days ago, you know how I tell you, as far as preparedness goes and preparing for things, one thing at a time. You can eat an elephant one bite at a time. Do something every day to get better prepared than you were. Because we all, you, me, everybody, we have our daily schedule. We have our daily routine. You eat meals at certain times, you bathe at certain times, you get in a car and drive to work or not at certain times, dun, 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 dun. And then you have these little chunks of time where you get to kind of choose more freely what you're going to do. And if you just focus a little bit every day on preparedness, you'll get better. And so I've decided to focus a little bit every day on picking up because, chores and everything else and stuff, I just don't have the ability to do it all in one go. Yesterday, I said, today's going to be pickup day, and I'm going to get everything picked up today. Well, my daughter drove her car into a ditch and bent her rim, and so, and towed it out while I wasn't here. And so, hilarity ensued, which we had to deal with yesterday to get that all squared away. And, yeah, just life. Right? So one thing at a time, one step at a time. It's interesting. I used to run 100-mile races, right? You run 100 miles in one go. And when the guy first invited me to do it, have I told you this story? It's at a barbecue in California. I just moved to California. A friend of mine had preceded me by about 6 months. We're at his house, a welcome barbecue. We're drinking adult beverages. And he says to me, this was in like June. He says, you know what you and I are doing in April? I said, what? He goes, we're going to run the American River 50. I said, what's that? He goes, it's a run through the mountains of California, 50 miles. I said, dude, you've been smoking too much California dope if you think I'm going to run 50 miles through the mountains. By the end of the night, he'd convinced me. And so that's when I started my ultra running section of my life. And I ended up running 100-mile races, just a couple. And but you know how you do it? The same way you eat an elephant. Oh, sure, there's preparation and training that's involved. You don't just decide on a whim you're going to go run 100 miles tomorrow. But you do have to prepare. But it's basically one foot in front of the other. Just keep going. It's very similar, and he told me this at the barbecue we were at. It's very similar to the military concept of rucking, carrying a rucksack for miles and miles and days. You just keep going, You just decide, I'm not quitting now. I'm going to walk from here to there. Once I get there, I'll reevaluate. If you're feeling low, and that's a way to deal with life sometimes. When you're feeling down and out, it's like, oh man, this is just terrible. It's like, well, just focus on a short-term, goal. right up there, the next telephone pole, the next hilltop, the next whatever, just get me through lunch, just get me through the night, whatever, short-term goals. And then as soon as you get there, set another short-term goal, and before you know it, you'll be able to look back and go, man, I made it pretty far. I'll tell you another story. I almost quit Ranger School. I went to Ranger School as a young second lieutenant, and that's where I got hard. I really do. I think a switch flipped in my head one morning in Ranger School. Ranger School, when I went through, and probably still, was very hard. You lose about 20 pounds in 58 days. You're carrying rucksacks all the time. You get yelled at all the time. It's a high pressure, high stress environment, and it's a great school. And you carry a heavy rucksack, but then there's other gear that has to be carried. There's an M60 machine gun, which we carried back then, which is heavy. Somebody's got to carry that. Somebody's got to carry the ammo for it, things like that. And we had this radio back in the day called a PRC-77 that weighed, I don't know, 25 pounds. And so, somebody had to carry the radio. Well, that's in addition to all the other stuff you're carrying. And so I got told one day, all right, you're carrying the radio. Okay, everybody's got to carry the radio, no big deal. And we're in the mountains, and we're hiking in the mountains. And we were on a slope, and we were walking along the slope all day and all night. And so, one leg's down and one leg's up, and you have this thing, and it was icy, it was cold, and, icicles were freezing on the end of my hat, but I'm burning up hot because you're doing all this physical exertion. And, I kept falling down. And when you fall down on a steep mountain and you're top heavy with this rucksack, you go, woo, and you fall down about, 10 or 15 feet, and then you have to get back up and climb back up to where everybody is and go. And, I was feeling horrible. But I told myself, short-term goal, that's okay. When we get to the patrol base, the ranger instructor, the RI, is going to take the radio from me and give it to somebody else. They probably sensed weakness on my part because I was feeling sorry for myself. And so when it came time to do the RI changeover and reallocate the radio, they decided little Fox was going to carry that radio another day. And so I'm carrying this radio the second day, and I'm just like, that's it, man. I'm going to quit. I don't need this. Looking back on it, I laugh now because that is so weak, right? It makes me like I can't stand quitters. I don't like the Q word, right? But back then, I didn't know these things. And so I told myself I'm going to quit. And you can quit right there while you're in the middle of the woods in the middle of nowhere. But what good is that going to do me? I tell myself. Everyone's just going to yell at me, and they're not going to like me, and they're going to call me a loser and worse words. And I'm still going to have to carry this radio until we get to the patrol base, at which point they'll take me and, I'll go back to the land of coffee and hot food or something. I don't know. So I tell myself, all right, when we get to the next patrol base, I'm going to quit. And that motivated me. This will be over in a couple hours. And so I carry this thing. I keep falling down. I carry this weight. I get to the patrol base. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to walk up to the guy and tell him I quit. And then I thought, if I do that, they're probably going to give me some kind of crappy detail to do while we wait on the truck to come out here and pick me up, and they're going to yell at me, and I won't be able to sleep, and I'm really tired. And my ranger buddy, what you do in ranger school is you take turns sleeping. You have a ranger buddy. And so, and I don't want him, he won't be able to sleep all night, because he won't have a ranger buddy. So I'll let him take a nap, and I'll get some food in me. So I eat some food. He takes a little nap, 20 minutes, and then he goes, you want to take a nap? I'm like, yeah. And so I take a nap, and I wake up, and I got a belly full of MRE, and, I had a little nap, and I'm feeling pretty good. I'm like, hey, this is cool. What? That's a big baby. I used another word, but, I was a big baby wanting to quit. This is stupid. This is easy. So we plan the next mission, and guess who gets to carry the radio the third day? Yeah, me. I totally get what the RIs were doing, because I do the same thing. When there's pressure on people and they start to crack, give them more, right? So they give me the radio, and it's not 20 minutes into the next day's rocking, rocking through the mountains that I'm like, hey, you idiot, to myself. It's all internal. Why didn't you quit when you had a chance? Now you got to carry this radio, yada, yada, yada. And I'm yelling at myself in my head, and then I tell myself the same thing. I'm going to quit, and I'm going to quit when we get there to the next patrol base, blah, blah, blah. I get to the next patrol base, I get a little bit to eat, I take a little nap, I wake up, I feel like $1,000,000, and then it hit me. That's when the switch clicked in my head, and it can click in your head. It ain't nothing but a thing, right? You wanted to quit yesterday. You wanted to quit the day before. You wanted to quit the day before that, and yet and still you still made it. You pushed on, you persevered, you put one foot in front of another. Yes, you were a big whiny pants in your head while you were doing it, but you did it, and guess what? You can do it tomorrow, and you can do it the next day, and you can do it the following day. You're not a quitter, Fox. That's what I told myself. And you know what? From that day forward, that switch has been permanently tripped in my head. Never say die, march or die, one foot in front of the other. Never say quit. Don't use the Q word. Keep going. Go, go, go. It was that easy. And you know what? I think the RIs, the ranger instructors, saw something in me because I didn't carry the radio after that. Isn't that amazing? Human psychology, quitting. Just don't quit. Just don't do it. Just don't quit. I guess that's the symbol of the talk for today. Never quit. Never say you're going to quit. And then do things one chunk at a time when it gets difficult. If it's an impossible task, break it down into little subtasks. If you have to break those down into sub-subtasks and get after it. Do one little thing at a time. I'm doing one little pickup thing a day, at least, out here. And so eventually, it'll look pristine like the cover of a magazine. All right. Go out there. Keep putting one foot in front of the other, and I'll see you out there.